Chapter 241 Bloody Battle in the Iron Cage. The large iron cage surrounded Mo Fan. The cursed beast was slowly crawling over, its disgusting saliva dripping onto the ground. The saliva was corrosive, as black smoke appeared after it dripped onto the iron poles and ground. Mo Fan knew that he had no choice but to have a fight to the death with this cursed beast within the iron cage. He immediately retreated to a relatively safe distance. The cursed beast's eyes were very bright, and he didn't want to look at them. A low sound came from its throat, like it was a hungry wolf that hadn't eaten for a long time. Finally, the cursed beast moved. He only heard a swoosh of motion sound before the cursed beast left behind an after shadow as it charged toward Mo Fan with extreme speed. This speed seemed even faster than the mother skin scale phantom from before. Fortunately, Mo Fan had put some distance between them, thus he was able to respond in time. The entire beast-taming iron cage had a barrier. Furthermore, it was for containing the shadow beast. Thus, if he wanted to use the shadow elemental spells to escape from the iron cage, it would prove to be impossible. Presently, he could only fight with the cursed beast. He couldn't help but admit that based on the speed of the cursed beast, it had to be several times stronger than the mother skin scale phantom, which had just entered the warrior level. Suddenly, a flying claw swept across from afar. The flying claw was glistening coldly. He could see a clear sickle-shaped force emerging from it. The surface of the ground was being completely torn apart by the force of it as it swept toward Mo Fan. A normal dark beast would use their claws to directly attack a magician, as only then would it be effective. The claws of the cursed beast were capable of flying through the air. Mo Fan wanted to take the opportunity of the opponent being far away to use an intermediate magic. However, he did not have the time to draw a star atlas. Mo Fan spun to the side to avoid it, and the claw went past him. Just when he thought he had dodged the range of the attack, the side of his arm suddenly felt scorching hot. As he turned around, Mo Fan realized there was a deep wound on his arm. He could nearly see the bones. The cursed beast opened its mouth and let out a strange cry. In the same moment it shot out the claw, it also charged toward Mo Fan. It was clear that this thing had a bit of intellect. It knew how to use a long-range attack to stop Mo Fan from drawing a star atlas, followed by a close-ranged attack. If an intermediate magician didn't have the opportunity to use intermediate magic, then they would only be a normal person in front of a warrior-level creature. It was very easy for them to rip them into pieces. This cursed beast was not giving Mo Fan any opportunity to use intermediate magic. It was coming closer and closer, and Mo Fan didn't dare to hesitate. He hastily activated his other magic equipment imprint. Departing Nether Shield. The imprint within his soul came forth, displaying a deep, blue color as a rigid ray of light emerged. The light ray interwove systematically as it formed a geometrical diagram in front of Mo Fan. It turned into a dark blue shield with a rock that spread its wing. The shield was sharp and clear-cut. There were also a few strange holes at the top of it, and its edges emitted a metallic luster. Clang! The cursed beast's ghastly claws could go through iron like mud. When it hit the departing nether shield, it let out a fierce metallic shriek, and a deep claw mark appeared on the shield. Reverse Sting. Mo Fan saw the opportunity as he hastily activated the departing nether shield's counter ability. In that moment, rhombus-shaped blades shot out like a torrential rain from the strange holes on the shield. These rhombus blades were extremely sharp. Even if the cursed beast's external skin had a layer of rotten flesh as protection, the sudden attack from the rhombus blades penetrated fiercely into the body of the cursed beast. Dark beasts were experts in making others bleed, while the counterattack of the departing nether shield had hooks. The departing nether shield's bleeding ability was in no way inferior to the claws of a dark beast. How could the cursed beast possibly imagine that the departing nether shield was this advanced? Numerous holes emerged from the wounds on its body, and a dark gray liquid began to flow out of those holes. Goo 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 goo. The cursed beast was flustered. It didn't wait for the other reverse stings to enter its body before it suddenly began to jump backwards and pull the blades out of its body. Its responses are fairly quick. It actually didn't get hooked by the counterattack. Mo Fan watched the cursed beast jump away as he felt some regret. If the cursed beast was hit by all of the reverse stings, then it hooked onto the bones, he would have cast a thunderbolt. Even if it didn't die by then, it'd at least be half dead. As expected of a warrior-class creature, it definitely wasn't easy to deal with. The reverse sting didn't give the cursed beast a life-threatening wound. Mo Fan also took this chance to draw back further. Mo Fan retracted the departing nether shield. He knew that he didn't have many methods for protecting himself, so he definitely couldn't let the cursed beast approach him again. If you want to charge over again, then ask my fist first. As Mo Fan saw the cursed beast charging over again, rose-hued flames ignited around his body. Rose flames, fiery fist, ground break. Mo Fan put all of his mana into this one fist as he punched down fiercely. The flames poured into the ground. Suddenly, a gaudy red fiery pillar burst out of the ground like an erupting volcano. The fire pillar's area was extremely large as it blew up, the surging magma flames dancing. The cursed beast was extremely cunning. Its launched attack was just a feint. When the ground began to erupt, the treacherous creature suddenly jumped to the side. It actually dodged the fatal groundbreak flames. By just touching a little bit of the flames naturally wouldn't hurt the warrior-level cursed creature. The cursed beast displayed a mocking smile. When it landed gracefully on the ground, its speed suddenly erupted as it flashed toward Mo Fan. Its claws were still frantically working while it was racing over. The flying claws that came along with the erupting speed of its body turned into a whirlwind of claws that shot over with extreme speed. Mo Fan was despondent when he saw this. God damn, this cursed beast's abilities are much stronger than that of a dark beast. Fortunately, Mo Fan had considered this scenario and didn't let the flames in his right hand go off. However, the remaining mana he had was not enough to cast the groundbreak again. Fortunately, Mo Fan threw his fist of flames toward the storm of claws to fight it. Whoosh! The flames spouted forth from Mo Fan's fist. Its power was not as ferocious as a complete fiery fist, exploding heavens. Mo Fan didn't expect to blast the cursed beast away. He only hoped for the remaining flames to help him defend against the wind blade attacks from his opponent. Claw Edge Whirlwind had a layer of chaotic winds protecting it. All of the flames that struck it were either blown away or swept apart. The wind itself didn't appear to be weakened at all. Chapter 242 Battle of Wits Against the Vatican, Part 1. The sparkling city of Shanghai's lights were not reflected in the black sky like normal days. The dense black clouds were low. The taller skyscrapers flickered with lights at some of the floors as they proudly reached above the clouds. The tops of the skyscrapers were no longer visible. The lights were on inside the numerous packed family homes, and along the crisscrossing streets. When the traffic paused in the city, the red tail lights of the cars appeared to be slowly circulating blood veins covering the very heart of Shanghai. A person with dark green hair was sitting on the edge of the roof of a large building that reached up to the sky. Beneath the hair was a face with very sharp cheekbones and a pale complexion. This person seemed like a monster roaming the city. His pupils were very deep, so deep you couldn't see even a trace of emotions in them. An ancient Tang suit draped over his skinny body. What was astonishing was that there were eagle-like wings on his back. The feathers' tips were like sharp blades, each of the edges could be clearly seen. The wings were currently in a retracted state, but you could still tell they were very sturdy, and very well made. For this kind of person standing on the very edge of a skyscraper while looking exceptionally isolated, even if the city was bigger, they'd still be easily found. We've found the person. Position? It's in the Zhang North area. We've set a coordination light. The pale man's gaze was looking to the south. Sure enough, above the splendid city, a distinct light was gradually rising. HMPH, blue cloak, don't even think about escaping from the palm of my Nighthawk. The pale man jumped, and the wings behind his back whooshed open. The pitch-black feathers appeared even more elegant beneath the illumination of the dome. As he frantically whizzed past the buildings, the pale man flapped the wings. He was flying steadily in the sky, not very high up nor very low as he soared just above the black clouds. As he leaned a bit to the side, he left a wind trail like a hurricane as he passed through the large buildings in Shanghai. All of the colossal towers that went through the clouds were now behind him as he swept past the skies of Huangpu River like a wild goose. The pale man was getting closer and closer to the area with the flickering lights. Mo Fan, an anxious voice was heard from the Bluetooth earphone. I'm still a little busy, miss. Listen to me first. The Blue Cloak Deacon is planning on escaping. The Nighthawk of the Magic Courts is ready. As long as we are able to delay him for 5 more minutes, then the Blue Deacon won't be able to escape us. From the information we received from the people monitoring him, He seems to be waiting for something. Ms. Tangyu's voice entered Mo Fan's ears. He must be waiting for the underground holy spring to get in his hands. Shit! On the other hand, Mo Fan rubbed off the blood that came out of his mouth as he couldn't help but curse. Lightning Strike's paralysis effect gave Mo Fan a little time to rest. It's just his current situation did not look very favorable. Oh, Ms. Tangyue, I wasn't cursing at you. I have a cursed beast over here, and it's a bit difficult to deal with. What did you say before? Mo Fan was also as daring as a skilled person. He still had the time to talk while in the middle of a battle. I see. The Blue Deacon is waiting for the Grey Cloak Priest to finish his mission. That's why he was willing to take the risk to stay. Mo Fan, our capture operation still needs another 5 minutes. You must delay them. Force them to take another 5 minutes of risk for you. Tangyue said. Mo Fan didn't quite understand. Since they had already found the person, couldn't they just go straight to them? Why do they need 5 minutes to prepare? Is it because they wanted to make the web bigger so they could catch everything, or was it because the objective was in a lively area, and a battle could potentially involve innocent civilians? No matter what the reason was, Mo Fan knew that he had to buy some time. It appeared that Yuang did indeed exchange words with someone a moment ago. That person must be the Blue Cloak Deacon. Sir Priest, there's only a drip of underground holy spring within the Shadow Beast. Furthermore, it seems to have dried up. We've been played by this kid. Outside of the colossal iron cage, Fu Tianming and Jia Wenqing ran over with their faces flustered. Yuang's face contorted with anger, but he suppressed the rage. From the tone of the Blue Deacon, the current state was very urgent. If there were no chances of accomplishing the mission, then they had to evacuate. However, Yuang was not willing to let Mo Fan escape this time. Whoosh! A sharp claw swept past him. Mo Fan continued to roll all the way to the very edge of the iron cage. It was clear that his wounds weren't light this time. As luck would have it, the pendant on the guy's chest seemed to have knocked onto something, as it was unable to conceal a special aura that began to pour around the place. This aura was like a slowly dispersed colossal halo. Within the range of the halo was a layer of water. It caused people's minds to resonate and feel extremely comfortable. Underground Holy Spring. It's the genuine underground holy spring. Yuang's eyes nearly popped out. The underground holy spring was indeed in the hands of this kid. Furthermore, he seemed to have kept it well. No wonder Mo Fan's strength had advanced by leaps and bounds and reached the first or second place of the Pearl Institute in terms of cultivation. It was actually because he was using the heavenly spiritual treasure of Bo City all by himself. Kill him, hurry up and kill him and take his pendant. Yuang went crazy. Yuang recalled concealing himself in Bo City. One reason was because he was acting as a spy, and the other more important reason was because he was supposed to steal the underground holy spring. Master Salin had said it before. He wanted to take the underground holy spring because he wanted to start a ceremony. He wasn't interested in the cultivation effect it gave. If Yuang was able to steal the underground holy spring, then he could have the underground holy spring for himself after the ceremony finished. Yuang had dreams of a meteoric rise many times. In the end, all he obtained was half of his face rotting. After seeing the genuine underground holy spring, Yuang's eyes had turned thoroughly red. Master Deacon, it is the genuine underground holy spring. It's within the kid's pendant. If Master Salin knew of this, he would definitely be extremely happy. Shit! Hurry up and steal it then, hurry! From the other end, the Blue Deacon sensed something was wrong as he began to roar at Yuang. Yuang naturally didn't know just how serious the situation right now was. In his eyes right now, there was only the underground holy spring. The Blue Deacon also had to wait. Disciples and priests naturally did not know the location of Salin, much less have any form of contact with Salin. The only ones who were able to contact Salin were the Blue Deacons, and those who had existed for a long time within the Black Vatican. Within the Black Vatican, this was the form of contact between members. Presently, Yuang and the other few could be considered to be half-exposed. Since they didn't want to comply with what the Blue Deacon had said, they would quickly get caught by the magic court and imprisoned within Shanghai. Even if they obtained the underground holy spring, they could forget about leaving. The Blue Deacon had to wait for them. All of the deacons within the Black Vatican were being watched very closely. They could only rely on Grey Cloak priests and their disciples to complete missions. As soon as they obtained the goods, The blue deacons had the ability to immediately disappear into thin air, so the important goods wouldn't be seized by the magic courts. Chapter 243 Battle of Wits Against the Vatican, Part 2. Mo Fan stood up and looked at the long cut that reached from his right shoulder to his left. Every time he breathed he felt a scorching pain. It was a form of torment. Shit, in order to make Yuang and the blue deacon stay, he really was being a bit fearless. However, that was all right. Him tricking the enemy by injuring himself had been effective. After Yuang saw the little loach pendant emitting a dense underground holy spring aura, he appeared to have lost a bit of reasoning. Is this underground holy spring really that important to him? There were many heavenly treasures in this world. The ones with effects comparable to the underground holy spring were not few in number. The Black Vatican has no reason to spend this much effort to just obtain it, unless the underground holy spring had another different special usage. Mo Fan recalled what Xinxia had told him about the fact the Bo City was a guardian city. They guarded the underground holy spring, thus, there must be an ancient secret that had been hidden for nearly 2,000 years. Goo 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 goo. The low roar issued by the cursed beast reminded Mo Fan not to ponder over it for too long. You evil creature. I was just picking up a phone call and got a little distracted. Do you really think you can hurt me? Mo Fan nearly flew into a rage. Mo Fan didn't use his shadow spells, so as not to show all of his abilities to Yuang. Now Mo Fan believed that Yuang wouldn't be able to escape at all, and so he had no reason to hide anything. The cursed beast was able to understand human speech. It gave out a low roar that carried a hint of ridicule. Tiny human, you still dare to boast shamelessly at this point? Whoosh! The cursed beast disappeared from where it was standing. Its figure was continuously fluctuating between places. Mo Fan's lightning strike and fire burst were easily avoided by this thing. Another claw swept past, this time from above, striking down. It wanted to slice Mo Fan into two halves from the top of his head. Yuang stood at the top of the staircase. From within the dense fog, he saw Mo Fan's silhouette slowly falling into two. The smile on his face turned even more splendid. Originally, he wanted to leisurely torment Mo Fan to death. However, the blue deacon wanted to hastily leave, so Yuang didn't dare waste time. He wanted to take the underground holy spring and leave immediately. However, before Yuang was able to enjoy his excitement, he suddenly realized Mo Fan's silhouette was in a different place. Due to the fog, Yuang was unable to see just how this guy was able to dodge the life-threatening claw. However, this flustered Yuang even more. Sir Priest, the Great Nix regime formation seems to be disappearing, Fu Tianming hastily informed Yuang. Yuang looked up and realized the originally pitch-black sky was slowly dispersing. He could already see the dense black clouds and the traces of lights from the buildings in the night sky. He looked around and saw the black mist had already disappeared, and the colossal iron cage had completely revealed its astonishing appearance. The dark maze around the pond had already disappeared. From where Yuang was standing, he could see the fountain and the plaza. Yuang's heart began to give him bad feelings. When the Great Nix regime formation disappeared, they'd have great difficulty hiding their identities. Yuang wasn't scared of these students, he was scared of the teachers. Their strength was much greater than the students. The two of you can go and charge in. No matter what happens, we need to obtain the thing before the Great Nix regime formation disappears. Yuang ordered Fu Tianming and Jia Wenqing. Sir, if we go in, wouldn't that just directly expose us? Before Jia Wenqing finished, Yuang gave the two of them a glare. The two didn't dare to oppose him. They took the opportunity when Mo Fan was still dealing with the cursed beast to walk into the iron cage through the iron door in the corner. They were already familiar with the beast-taming iron cage. Whether it was the small door or the barrier on top, they knew how to use all of them. Walking in was extremely easy. If you're smart, you should give us the underground holy spring and we'll let you live. Fu Tianming pointed at the still-living cockroach Mo Fan angrily. Mo Fan found the time to look at the two people who had walked into the iron cage on their own as his expression turned extremely cold. They sold their lives to the Black Vatican instead of being good students of the Pearl Institute. They would rather be slaves than people. Mo Fan concealed some of his strength because he wanted to lure Yuang out. There was a barrier within the colossal iron cage, and Mo Fan was unable to use evading shadow to get out. If he wanted to kill Yuang, he would have to lure Yuang inside. Who would know that Yu Ang was actually so sinister and cunning? The situation had escalated to this point, yet he didn't want to personally deal with it. Mo Fan was no longer able to hide, so he'd eliminate them first and then think about what to do later. The evading shadow technique. When he had pulled a certain distance away from the cursed beast, Mo Fan was finally standing in the middle of the entire iron cage. From his body, a dense shadow aura began to leap out. Although the Great Nyx regime formation had disappeared, Mo Fan was still able to sense the dense shadow element in his surroundings. A strange and mysterious star atlas slowly emerged beneath Mo Fan's feet. The blood on his chest dripped down from his clothes. The red blood dripped onto the darkly glinting star atlas. It caused the entire atlas to link up in a more outlandish way. Giant shadow spike. The cut on Mo Fan's chest was extremely astonishing. From his blood-covered chest, a giant shadow spike suddenly emerged. The giant shadow spike that Mo Fan used right now was different from before. It looked like a very slender shadow sword. A black aura wrapped around it before it shot off. Beneath the Nyx regime, all other elements would receive a decrease in power. At the same time, the shadow element's power would receive a substantial increase in power. Even the shadow beast's power would increase, not to mention the magic of a shadow magician. Go! The giant shadow spike followed the wave of Mo Fan's sleeves as it instantly pierced through the void and disappeared without a trace. Jia Wenqing and Fu Tianming were both completely flabbergasted by this. Shadow magician? How could Mo Fan be a shadow magician? At the same time, Yu Ang, who was standing outside, was so furious that his entire being began to tremble. Shadow element. This scoundrel Mo Fan actually possesses the shadow element. No wonder his powers wasn't influenced by the Great Nyx regime formation. Fire element. Lightning element. Summoning element. Shadow element. This guy doesn't have an innate dual element. He is able to obtain the power of two elements whenever he awakens. Yu Ang wasn't resenting Mo Fan because of his face. He was jealous that Mo Fan possessed the talent of an innate dual element. Who would have known that this guy possessed an ability that was even more domineering than an innate dual element? Dual elements at primary level. 4 elements at intermediate level. Once he reached the advanced level, wouldn't he possess 6 elements? He definitely needed to get rid of this Mo Fan, definitely. Kill him, now. Yu Ang's voice had turned into a shout. The flames within his chest began to burn even brighter. Fu Tianming and Jia Wenqing regained their senses. The innate dual element was already extremely astonishing to the two of them. This person with 4 elements, they felt as if their whole world was smashed into pieces. Chapter 244. You want to hurt me with your tiny common grade fire? Goo goo goo. The cursed beast could feel its owner's frantic rage as it used all of its power to charge toward Mo Fan. The cursed beast's speed was relatively fast. In less than a second, it was already 50 meters away from Mo Fan, and the remaining 50 meters was just a wink away. Mo Fan looked at the cursed beast and this time, he didn't even try to dodge it. The corner of his mouth curved as he thought, let's see how savage you're gonna be. His fingers moved slightly, and an invisible thread wrapped around his finger. It looked as though he was trying to pull something. Mo Fan's finger was precisely controlling the giant shadow spike. The giant shadow spike that entered the void did not represent it being lost. It was waiting for Mo Fan's command, while he waited for the moment the cursed beast's shadow appeared. The giant shadow spike appeared noiselessly. Due to it being strengthened by the Nyx regime, it didn't emerge as a sharp sword. It was turned into 6 swords. The first sword spike drove into the leg of the cursed beast. The cursed beast was in the middle of charging. When its left leg got struck, it came to an abrupt stop. The other parts of its body looked as though they had all separated. Yet another shadow sword spike appeared, and pierced into the brain of the cursed beast without any warning. More shadow spikes appeared, piercing into the cursed beast's abdomen, right leg, and its 2 wrists. Normally when Mo Fan used the giant shadow spike, he would most just force them to stay put, and the other parts of the person's body would still be able to move around. This time, the giant shadow spike was strengthened and split into 6 swords due to the Nyx regime. Each of the spikes fiercely struck out and even hit the different parts of the target's body. This locked the cursed beast in place and turned it into an experiment specimen. Goo goo. A second hadn't even gone past and the cursed beast suddenly let out an incredibly painful shriek. When the dark energy had slowly wrapped itself around the cursed beast's body, a shadow aura penetrated deep into its body. This kind of nail didn't just pin their flesh body, it pinned their souls. The shadow force was an extremely bizarre thing. Originally, Mofan's giant spike was only capable of pinning their body and restricting their consciousness. Beneath the Great Nyx regime formation, his giant shadow spike gained the ability to pierce through the soul. Cursed beasts had their own souls cursed. These 6 spikes had penetrated their soul, causing it extreme pain. A cursed beast receiving extreme pain in their soul would basically lose all their combat prowess. The biggest annoyance had been dealt with. Mofan's gaze was then fixed onto the traitors, Jia Wenqing and Fu Tianming. "Don't be furious, have a taste of my wind magic," Fu Tianming yelled out. The magic Fu Tianming cast was precisely Wind Disc, Tornado. The whizzing tornado began to blast out within the colossal iron cage. He had no intention of giving Mofan an opportunity to run around. The wind was like daggers, painful before it even got there. However, wind was the least effective element against the shadow element. Mofan directly sank into the shadows and moved around. Who cared how strong that wind disc is, it could forget about even touching him. Jia Wenqing, on the other hand, ignited into flames. There was an incredible fire energy condensed around his wrist. The spell Jia Wenqing was casting was precisely Fiery Fist. The colossal fiery fist shot toward the shadow where Mofan was hiding. The wind element might not be able to wound Mofan, but once the fire element hit, then it would definitely turn Mofan into ashes. Boom! Fiery fist. Exploding heaven was extremely tyrannical. It was like a little meteorite on fire as it charged over violently and a large dark hole blew away. The scarlet flames was burning brightly. Jia Wenqing believed that he wouldn't be using the evading shadow again. Furthermore, the flames were so bright, it gave Mofan no way to possibly use it. The fiery flames were very powerful. As the sound of this was extremely loud, it naturally alerted the students who were roaming around. As luck would have it, Mu Nujiao and I-Tutu were standing at the stairs outside of the building. They first felt the force of a whistling wind and knew that there was a battle inside, and so they began to run in. Who would have thought that after entering the place, they would find Jia Wenqing's fiery flames being shot toward Mofan, who was hiding within a shadow. "Jia Wenqing, what are you doing?" I-Tutu's sharp voice was heard. Jia Wenqing wasn't being lenient at all. If it was a normal person without a defensive spell or a defensive magic equipment, they would definitely die on the spot. Mu Nujiao was a bit more rational. Her gaze scanned the surrounding and were able to clearly see what was happening in this entire area through the dense fog. When she took note of an extremely ugly creature stuck there like a pinned butterfly, she immediately realized something was wrong. She immediately dragged back I-Tutu, who was about to charge in. "Sister Mu, don't drag me. I need to check if the great demon has died or not," I-Tutu said, feeling hurt. "Don't be hasty." Mu Nujia's voice was very solemn. Yu Ang naturally discovered these 2 girls. However, he didn't have the time to pay attention to them. He had to take away the underground holy spring and leave this area before the other students arrived. "Stay away from here, they are from the Black Vatican." Just when Mu Nujiao and I-Tutu had yet to comprehend what was happening, a ball of fierce flames began to ignite. A man with his body completely covered in flames slowly walked out. The scarlet flames was burning brightly, even the steel poles had been turned red. However, the flames on the silhouette within the scarlet flames were rose-colored. He walked out of the flames as he appeared, as if his entire body was burning up. The fact was, the rose flames were flames cast by him. The rose flames seemed to be protecting him. "Great demon, you haven't died!" I-Tutu shouted out. Mu Nujiao was also looking at Mofan. Her beautifully pale face was also astonished. At this moment, Mofan's entire body was covered in flames. The rose fiery flames could clearly be distinguished from the orange flames. He looked like a phoenix that had reincarnated from within the flames. The problem is, how could he possess flames? "You want to hurt me, using those little common-grade flames?" Mofan said coldly. The second he released the aura of the rose flames, his temperament had also changed. Common flames were common flames. How could they possibly win against the far more precious spirit-grade flames? When Mofan used the rose flames, all of the orange flames appeared like soldiers who had seen their monarch, as they began to bow towards it. The rose flame's aura was even more tremendous. It was able to instantly swallow up all of the orange flames from Jia Wenqing. The burning flames all turned into Mo Fan's rose flames. It was as captivating as the ocean. Mo Fan was standing within the fierce flames, and his black eyes were burning with an unprecedented sharpness. Let me give you a taste of what are really called flames. Mo Fan's voice was solemn and forceful as it carried his scorn.